Natural hazards, volcano risks. Where do volcanoes occur? A volcano is an event in Earth's crust through which molten rock flows. In any given year, volcanoes will erupt in about 60 different places on Earth. The motion of Earth's tectonic plates cause the formation of volcanoes and volcanic eruptions. Volcanoes form at convergent boundaries and divergent boundaries and away from plate boundaries at hotspots. The map below shows where volcanoes occur on Earth. Major volcano belts. Volcanoes associated with plate boundaries form two major belts. One belt surrounds the Pacific Ocean. It is called the Ring of Fire because volcanoes form a ring around most of the ocean. This area experiences a lot of earthquake and volcanic activity. The Ring of Fire stretches along the western coast of North and South America, across the Aleutian Islands, and down the eastern coast of Asia. It is associated with convergent plate boundaries. The Alpine Belt or Alpine Himalayan Belt includes many mountain ranges. These ranges extend along the southern margin of Eurasia. They stretch from Java to Sumatra through the Himalayas to the Mediterranean and out into the Atlantic. The Alpine Belt is smaller than the Pacific Ring of Fire. It includes two well known volcanoes in Italy, Mount Etna and Mount Vesuvius. The Alpine Belt runs along the boundaries between Eurasian, African, and Arabian plates. The tectonic plates here are also converging. The map below shows the two major volcano belts. Hotspots. Not all volcanoes form on or near plate boundaries. Volcanoes are not associated with plate boundaries, are called hotspots. Geologists hypothesize that hotspots form above a rising current of hot mantle materials called a plume. Plumes do not move. Instead, a volcano forms as a tectonic plate moves over the plume. As the moving plate carries the volcano away from the hotspot, the volcano becomes dormant or inactive. As the plate continues to move, a chain of volcanoes forms. The oldest volcano with the farthest away from the hotspot. The youngest volcano will be directly above the hotspot. The Hawaiian Islands are in the middle of the Pacific Plate, far from its edges. They sit on top of a hot spot under the Pacific Plate. Hot rock at these areas is forced toward the crust, where it melts partially to form hotspots volcanoes. The Pacific Plate is moving over a stationary hotspot. Hawaii, the oldest Hawaiian island, was once located where the big island Hawaii is situated today. As the plate moved, Hawaii moved away from the hot spot and became a dormant volcano. As the Pacific plate continued to move, the other Hawaiian islands were formed. The Hawaiian Islands, shown in the diagram below, formed over a period of about 5 million years. What factors affect the amount of damage caused by a volcano? On average, about 60 different volcanoes erupt each year. Many factors determine the severity of damage produced by a volcano. These factors are called volcanic hazards. A violent volcanic eruption can have far reaching impacts. Its hazards can affect all Earth systems. Volcanic ash can block sunlight and disrupt air travel. Lava flows can cover large areas of land. Volcanic gases can harm living things. Mud flows and cycloplastic flows can destroy villages and kill thousands of people. The table on the next page describes different types of volcanic hazards. Volcanic hazards, mud flows. Thermal energy produced during an eruption can melt snow and ice on a volcano summit. This melt water can mix with mud and ash on the mountain to form mud flows. Mud flows, also called lahars, can sweep down the mountainside and bury everything below. Lava flows. The slow movement of lava is called the lava flow. Lava flows are usually associated with nonviolent eruptions. They move slowly, so they are rarely deadly, but lava flows can cause damage. Lava melts everything in its path as it flows. When the lava hardens, it can leave behind thick black layers of rock. Farmland is lost, and homes cannot be rebuilt on the land. Volcanic ash. Explosive eruptions can spew volcanic ash high into the air. Volcanic ash is a mixture of tiny particles of rock and glass. Ash can cause airplane engines to stop in mid flight. Ash in the air can cause breathing problems. Large quantities of ash can affect climate by blocking sunlight and cooling Earth's atmosphere. Volcanic gases. Magma contains dissolved gases such as small amounts of carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide. Sulfur dioxide can irritate the skin and eyes, and carbon dioxide can be deadly. Carbon dioxide can form an eruption, can settle in low lying areas, and become highly concentrated. Concentration of 3% can cause headaches and dizziness. Concentrations of 50% can cause death. Landslides. Landslides are the rapid downhill movement of soil, loose rocks, and boulders. During an eruption, the volcano shakes and rocks are weakened. Large landslides of rocks, from small particles to boulders, are common volcanic hazards. Pyroclastic flows. Explosive volcanoes can produce pyroclastic flows, avalanches of hot gas, ash, and rock. These flows can travel at speeds of more than 100 kilometers per hour and reach temperatures of about 1,000 degrees Celsius. A pyroclastic, a pyroclastic flow from Mount St. Helens killed 58 people. What areas have the highest risk of volcanic hazards? The United States has about 169 volcanoes that are classified as potentially active. These volcanoes all have the potential to erupt someday and cause damage and loss of life. Where are these volcanoes located? Most volcanoes in the United States are part of the Ring of Fire. Alaska, Hawaii, Washington, Oregon, and Northern California all have active volcanoes. Mount Redoubt in Alaska is an active volcano. Mount St. Helens in Washington is also an active volcano. It exploded with a violent eruption in 1980. Volcanic risk. Some places have a high risk of volcano hazards, in other places, the risk is low. Scientists evaluate the shape, eruptive style, and history of a volcano to determine its risk to an area. Their factors that determine risk include proximity to the volcano, valleys, wind direction, and the volcano's own unique features. The United States Geological Survey, USGS, estimates that about 80,000 people are at risk if Mount Rainier in Washington erupts again. They base this estimate on the number of people who currently live in areas impacted by earlier eruptions. Can volcanic eruptions be predicted? Recall that scientists cannot predict earthquakes, but what about volcanoes? They are caused by plate tectonics too. Are they also difficult to predict? One factor the scientists consider when predicting a volcano is the past erupted history of the volcano. Has it been inactive for hundreds of years, or has it erupted fairly often over time? The risk of future eruptions is higher for volcanoes that erupt more often. Predicting volcanoes. Volcanic eruptions can be predicted, but the exact moment of the eruption cannot be predicted. Most volcanoes give off warning signs before they erupt. This can help scientists issue advance warnings so people can evacuate the area. The USGS operates volcano observatories. Because many people live near volcanoes, the USGS has developed a hazard assessment program that predicts where and when an eruption will occur. To predict a volcanic eruption, scientists monitor factors such as gas emissions, earthquake activity, and lava samples. The table on the next page explains how volcanoes are monitored.